How's everyone doing? Good to see you. My name is Ken Ballard Jr. I'm the pastor here at Encounter. I just want to say thanks for joining us this morning. I wanted to hit a few things that are going on. First of all, on August the 10th, we will be having our mobile food bank. So it's an opportunity for us to go feed those in the community who are hungry. We just had it this past Wednesday, and I want to say that we were able to feed, if I remember correctly, 152 families. We're able to give food. So thank you, because that's one of the things that your giving goes towards. So thank you for that. Thank you for those of you who came out to volunteer and help out with that and be able to make that happen. The other thing is I just wanted to remind you guys that if you go to our website and if you click the link that says next steps, and then if you click the link that says prayer, we've launched that now. So you can go there. There are different tools that you can utilize to be able to help you with your ability to be able to grow in your prayer. There are things that you can download. There are things that you can print out to be able to utilize as a tool for that as well. So I'm really excited about it, and we're going to continue to add to that within the next couple of weeks. We're going to be adding a new thing for that as well. So our goal is we want to try to put as many things in your hands as possible to help you to see yourself grow in your relationship with God as well. So with that, let me go ahead and open up in prayer, and we'll get going. Father, we just thank you so much for this morning. We thank you for who you are. Livestream, so you can utilize that to have the announcements and everything for today as well. Well, thank you, and God bless you. We're going to get started.
Good morning, church. I just want to invite you guys to stand and worship with us. Let's sing Who Breaks. Who breaks the power of sin and darkness, whose love is mighty and so much stronger, the King of glory, the King above all kings. Sing out Who Shakes. Who shakes the whole earth with holy thunder and leaves us breathless in awe and wonder, the King of glory, the King above all kings. This is amazing grace. This is unfailing love, that you would take my place, that you would bear my cross. You laid down your life, that I would be set free. Oh, Jesus, I sing for all that you've done for me. Who brings our chaos back into order? Who makes the orphan a son and daughter? The King of glory, the King of glory, who rules the nations with truth and justice, shines like the sun in all of its brilliance. the Father's love for us. How vast beyond all measure, that He should give His only Son to make a wretch His treasure. How great the pain of searing loss! The Father turns His face away, as wounds which mar the chosen one bring many songs to glory.
Behold the man upon the cross, my sin upon His shoulders. Ashamed, I hear my mocking voice call out among the scoffers. It was my sin that held Him there until it was accomplished. His dying breath has brought me life. I know that it is finished.
Sing, I will not boast. I will not boast in anything. No gifts, no power, no wisdom. But I will boast in Jesus Christ, His death, the resurrection. Why should I gain from His reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. Sing, but this I know. But this I know with all my heart: His wounds have paid my ransom. Oh, and I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are, and I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Oh, and I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know
Father, we just thank you so much for being a good, good Father to us. And we thank you for teaching us so many aspects of your character, that we can know these names of you. And by learning these names, that we learn more about who you are. And God, we just thank you that Father is one of those names that you've given for us to call you. And just thank you for that intimacy and that grace. And I just pray that you'll soften our hearts to what you have to speak to us this morning, Lord. Amen.
Really? Remember we used to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but true, right? Not so true. Not so true. Names do hurt us. They do hurt us. They are hard. And if we're called the wrong name, it does make an impact on us. It does make an impact on our lives. Names are huge. Names are big. And here's what I wanted to do with this series is I just wanted to delve into names, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I'll tell you, one of the times that's one of the most important conversations that you will have about names is, especially that Heidi and I had, is when you talk about naming your children. Because there's pressure in that. Like, if you've ever had a child, there's pressure in naming your child. Because you know your child will be stuck or blessed with that name for the entirety of their lives. You know? So there's a lot of pressure. So, you know, we went back and forth and having those discussions when we found out that she was pregnant on what we would name our kids, because names are powerful. Names are defining. Names are connected with your identity. Names really are. They really communicate who you are. I mean, think about that. When we were looking at names for our children, like there were certain names that are already off limits. And they were names of people that we had problems with. Right? We weren't going to name our kids those names. They're off limits. I mean, could you imagine? What if somebody said, hey, little Bobby, I named you after a bully that beat me up all through middle school. And you're a reminder of how horrible my middle school years were. Like, we would never do that, right? Like there's certain names because of bad experiences that we've had that are just automatically off limits. There are also some names that are off limits because of just their historical connection. Like, for example, we never even considered Adolf as a name for our kids. Never considered it. Because that's just kind of off the, that's just out. Like, we're not going to use that name. So I remember when, we were thinking about, like, if it's a boy, what are we going to name him? If it's a girl, what are we going to name her? And for a boy, one of the things that we found out is my father-in-law. When my father-in-law moved from Germany to America, he was sponsored by someone. And so he changed his middle name to the name of the person that sponsored him. So when we found that out, we found out that his original middle name is Xavier. Well, there's the German pronunciation of it, which is really cool, but it's Xavier. And so that's who Xavier is named after. And then his middle name is Joseph. And we picked Joseph for a couple reasons. One, my grandfather's name is Joseph, and my grandfather actually built churches in Kentucky. Like, multiple churches exist because of my grandfather's work with those churches. And then also, Joseph is one of my favorite characters in the Bible as well, when you look at everything that he has endured and has gone through. And then, about 4 years later, we found out she's pregnant again. So now we go through this whole conversation again, and we started looking at what are we going to name our kids. And so, we decided if we had a girl, we wanted her to be connected with Christianity in some ways, but we didn't want to take a blatant name from the scriptures. So we started looking at things like maybe hope or grace, and we landed on faith. Because every time we would see her, she was just a reminder of our faith in God and who he is. And every time we would say her name, she's a reminder of her faith in God and who he is. And then for her middle name is Faith Ann. And why did we go with Ann? Because that was her grandmother's middle name. That's my wife's middle name, and now that's Faith's middle name as well. Plus, her initials are F-A-B, which is Fab, which is really incredible, and that just shows how nerdy I am. She's like, Dad, don't ruin it for me. And then, about a year later, we adopted 2 kids from Ethiopia. And one of the conversations that we had is, what are we going to do about their names? Like, will we change their names? And then we got the notification of our kids and who they are. And then we started, we got their names, and we kind of checked into the meanings of their names. And we were like, there's no way that we'll change their names. Because many times when you adopt kids from other countries, you have no idea of when their birthday might be. No idea, so you just kind of make one up for them. But the cool thing is Tensai, our oldest daughter, she was actually named after, her name Tensai means new beginnings. It's actually associated with Easter. Now, how ironic is this? When we landed, the day we landed in Ethiopia to pick them up, Easter Sunday. How cool is that? So we were like, there's no way that we're going to change her name. And then Millennium, he's actually born on, because sometimes people will look at him, and they'll ask him, what's your name? Millennium? And people look at him and go, you don't look 22. Well, actually, he was in Ethiopia, they followed the Coptic calendar. So that's about 7 years behind ours. So he was actually born on the Ethiopian millennium. And so we saw that, we were like, well, we can't change that, because now we know both of their birthdays. So we're kind of excited about that. So it's just one of those things, like names really are. They're powerful. There's a girl, and her name is Kyla, and she wrote an article called A Rose by Any Other Name, The Importance of Our Names in Shaping Our Identity. And her name was Kyla. And of course, being Kyla, of course she heard Kylie, Kayla, she heard all of those variations of her names, she would always have to correct people. But the thing that she found really interesting is even though she would correct people, there were certain people who had no interest in trying to pronounce her name in the correct way. No people whatsoever. And here's what she had to say about it. She says, it seems as though I'm unimportant, not worthy of remembering. I know that hopefully is not the intention of the person, but I still feel a sharp pang when it happens because it's embarrassing that people don't want to learn her name. I remember when I did research to find out the meaning of my name, Kenneth. So I looked it up, and the first thing I found out, it was forged of fire. Like, man, like that's the name, baby. Forged of fire. And then I also found out when I was younger and I looked up my name, I also found out it meant handsome, which was really important for me because I really struggled with my identity when I was a kid. So that really spoke to me a lot. So handsome, knowledgeable, and quick. Not quick as in quick-footed, but quick as in quick-witted, which I'm still trying to live up to. But all of those, so that's my name. So then in preparing for this message, I thought, I'm going to look up Ballard. And I kind of wish I hadn't. Because Ballard is a derivative of an Irish insult term, and it means balding man. So my last name means balding man, which kind of sucks, because that means that my future was already predicted before I was even born. Balding man. Sorry, kids. That's your last name. But I also found out it means this, dancing song. So we'll go with that one, right? Dancing song. But names really are. Names are powerful. And so when I think about like the power of a name, I started looking at the whole idea or the concept of God. Because, when you really think about it, the concept of God is really huge. And how do we wrap our minds around him and around who he is? And so as I was thinking about this, I heard the song, there's a worship song called Love Has a Name. And, of course, it goes, Love Has a Name, and it's Jesus Christ, our King. And so I'm listening to that song, and I started thinking, like, what if we did a series on the names of God? And just kind of walk through. Because if we study the names of God, what happens is we begin to see like the personal experiences that people have had with God, and in doing so, maybe it will give us some insight into who he is and allow that to begin to speak to us. And so what we're going to do is next week, we're going to really dig into the first name, and we're going to build, it's going to be a several-week series that we will do, for this. But I'm really excited about it because also I'm kind of stretching myself. For those of you that know me, you'll know that my sermons tend to lean more New Testament or the second half of the Bible. And so I wanted to stretch myself. And so this whole series will be leaning towards the first half of the Bible or the Old Testament, and we'll be digging into the names of God from those experiences as well. But I just wanted to spend this morning just thinking about God himself. Just thinking about God himself and just how magnificent he is. Just how incredible he is. It says this in Isaiah chapter 44, verse 24. This is what the Lord says, your Redeemer and Creator. I am the Lord who made all things. I alone stretched out the heavens. Who was with me when I made the earth? So now take a moment and think about that. That everything that exists because of God. Everything that exists. He is our Creator. And so really, if we could spend time like looking at creation, then maybe there's a possibility that there's some things that we can learn about God. Now, here's the beautiful thing about that, is we live in California. California is a great place to begin to explore like creation and just some of the beautiful things that we can see here. I was doing some research as I prepared for this message, and it was saying that in California, there exists what's called 13 level 3 ecoregions that exist here in California. Now, why is that so significant? There are actually 105 level 3 regions, ecoregions throughout the United States, but 13 of them are right here in California. Now, you may be asking the same thing that I asked. That's great, Ken, thank you, but what is an ecoregion, right? So here's a definition for you that you can see right on the screen. An ecoregion is an area defined by its environmental conditions, especially and climate, landforms, and characteristics. So that's basically an ecoregion. So here's what we're going to do, is we're going to just look at some examples of ecoregions that we can visit right here in California if you're just willing to get in your car and drive. Some of them are pretty close. Some of them are a little bit further. But we'll start with the first and the closest ones, and that is the Santa Monica Mountains. And so there's actually a picture that you can see right there on your screen of the Santa Monica Mountains. That we actually just went hiking there a few weeks ago in the Santa Monica Mountains, and we hiked to this lake, and we kind of hung out. We ate lunch at the lake, and then we hiked back. But if you were to hike in the Santa Monica Mountains, you can actually hike to waterfalls. It's a beautiful location. And we're talking about an hour to 2 hour drive at the most to go see some of these beautiful locations for showing us that. So that's one. Another is the Sierra Nevadas. Now, what can we find in the Sierra Nevadas? Yosemite. Yosemite's there. This is also found on Flickr. So thanks to David Prasad for that picture. How many of you have been to Yosemite? How many of you have been to Yosemite? How many of you have hiked in Yosemite? I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. And we know Todd and Maddie, they probably hiked all of Yosemite, just because they're hikers. But it's such a beautiful place to be able to go. And if you want to see just how massive God is, Yosemite is a great place to be able to recognize that and be able to see that. Another one is the Cascades. Now, in the Cascades, one of the places that you can find is this. It's called MacArthur Burney Falls. Now, my family's all looking at that, and when I said it, they all said it at the same time, MacArthur Burney Falls, because we've actually been there twice. So we were driving up to Oregon, and we stopped in Oregon. We stopped on our way to Oregon to see it, and then we went to another trip in Oregon, and on our way back, we stopped to see it again, because it is just absolutely beautiful. Now, this waterfall is actually fed by underground springs that are streams that come together that eventually rise and creates this incredible, incredible waterfall. So, and that's also in Flickr, so thanks to Mark Brazar for posting that on Flickr so we can find that as well. Now, these are just 3 places in California that are there. I didn't talk about Sequoia or Kings Canyon, where we can actually have the opportunity to go and experience the redwoods. I didn't talk about, Death Valley, where you can go and see like the traveling rock and sand dunes and all kind of salt deposits, just really, really beautiful that's there. I didn't talk about Lassen National Park. It's a volcanic park where you go, and it was like an active volcano at one point, where you can actually go and you could see like lava and that kind of thing. You could actually hike across thermos, and I mean, it's just absolutely amazing as you're hiking across these things and you're smelling sulfur and you're seeing like these natural hot springs, and it's just absolutely beautiful. It's just incredible. Now, that's just California, where we have the opportunity to be able to go and see God and who he is and the way that he reveals himself to us. What if we were to maybe zoom out quite a bit and we were able to see our Milky Way? Did you know that the circumference of the sun is 864,000 miles? Now, to help you understand that, the circumference of the earth is 7,917 and a half miles. So, in other words, to cover the circumference of the sun, you would have to travel around the earth more than 10 times to equate the circumference of the sun. Now, in looking at the weight of the sun, if you wanted to have the equivalent of the mass of the sun, you would have to combine 330,000 Earths to equal the mass of the sun. And as far as the volume of the sun, so if you wanted to fit Earths inside the sun to fill the volume of the sun, it would take 1.3 million Earths to fill the volume of the sun. That's how big our sun is. Now, let's look at the Milky Way. They assume that there's between 100 to 400 billion stars in the Milky Way, which is pretty incredible. And the width of the Milky Way is 100,000 light years, is the width of the Milky Way. Now, a light year is 5.9 trillion miles. So multiply 5.9 trillion miles times 100,000. That's how big our Milky Way is. And did you know that's small compared to some galaxies? There's a galaxy called the Andromeda Galaxy. And they are assuming that the Andromeda Galaxy, let me look at this real quickly, has 100 trillion stars in the Andromeda Galaxy. Now remember, we said the Milky Way has 100 to 400 billion. This galaxy has 100 trillion stars, and as far as its width, like if you were to measure it, it is 6 million light years. Now remember, our Milky Way is 100,000 light years. This galaxy is 6 million light years. So now take 6 million and multiply that times 5.9 trillion, and that's how big this galaxy is. Now, why am I saying all that? Because I want you to understand how big our God is, because he is the one that created it. So I want you to understand how big he is, how massive he is. I mean, that's incredible when you begin to look at it from that perspective. But as massive as that is, you could also see him in the details, in the smallest and most minute things, even right here on the earth. What about a fly? You know those big bug red eyes of the fly that you see when it's on your sandwich, right? And you try to swipe, and all of a sudden the fly is gone. Now, our eyes are composed of one lens. That's it. We have one lens. It allows us to be able to see in high def. Okay? The eye of the fly is called a compound eye. And one of the reasons why is because it is composed of 4,000 to 4,500 different lenses in the eye of the fly. Now, because of the way the eye is designed, the fly can't see detail like we can, but it can pick up movement. Its eyes are designed for survival. So that's why, how many of you tried to hit a fly? Right? And, and how many of you tried to catch a fly? You know, that whole Mr. Miyagi thing where he catches a fly with his chopstick. You know, that's computerized, baby, because that happened in real life. You know, but I actually did have a friend who could catch flies on a regular basis, and so we asked him, like, how do you do it? Because he sit there, he look at the fly and he go whoop. Zzz. Like, how do you do that? And he said, and this sounds like deep philosophy here. I don't swing at the fly, I swing at the path that the fly might fly. You know? And so we were like, okay, well, and we didn't caught nothing still. But it's just one of those things, like their eyes are designed to pick up movement. That's why it's so hard to hit them. That's why it's so hard to catch them. So if you ever do hit them or catch them, celebrate, you know, because you've done something. But not only that, the thing that's really interesting is that they found that each lens in the eye of a fly is shaped in the shape of a hexagon. Now, why is that so significant? Did you know that hexagon appears all throughout creation? The shape of a hexagon appears all throughout creation. Think about the inside of a honeycomb. What is that? Hexagon. Think about the shell of a turtle. It's made up of different hexagons. A snowflake is considered the shape of a hexagon. There's this place that you can visit right here in California. It's called the Devil's Postpile. And there's actually something just like it. It's called the Giant's Causeway that's in Northern Ireland. But what happened is there was a volcanic eruption, and then when the volcano cooled, it all cooled in the shape of hexagons. So like you're walking through this, you know, if you're where the Devil's Postpile is, like you're hiking, you're walking through, and all of a sudden you look and you begin to see like these rocks that are dangling, you know, and they are all in the shape of hexagons. It is just absolutely amazing. And then what you can do is you can hike to the top of the Devil's Postpile and look, and you can see all, and you really see it in the ground. You see all the hexagon, and it's like being in a bathroom looking at all the hexagon tiles in the bathroom. I mean, that's how perfect it is. Now, here's the thing that I found really interesting, is if you look inside of a hexagon, if you were to measure all the angles together, it equals 120 degrees. And what they found is when the lava is starting to cool, it creates pressure. And the pressure needed to create the hexagon is, guess what? 120 degrees. How interesting is that? I mean, it's just crazy, you know? And I know, I said I was going to look at detail and look at small, but here's the thing that's really interesting. It's one of those things where God says, look, I showed you. Like, if you look at Saturn, if you look at the top, if you look at the North Pole of Saturn, guess what the North Pole is in the shape of? A hexagon. The North Pole of Saturn is in the shape of a hexagon. So interesting. And then you notice that a hexagon has 6 sides. So now I'm going to connect the number 6 with that. One atomic element that has the number 6 is carbon. And they say that carbon is the perfect bonder. So if you wanted to create like chemical molecules and that kind of thing, carbon is the perfect bonder to create those molecules. Matter of fact, it says this. I found this in an article that I thought was really interesting. It's called The Miracle of Carbon, which is written for the United States Department of Energy by a guy named Mike Albro. And he said this: carbon is necessary for all life. If the carbon element did not exist, scientists believe the universe would be sterile and no life anywhere. So we have this 6-sided element. We have this 6, with 6 electrons and 6 neutrons and 6 protons. Here's this atom, or this element that is there, that is essential for life and life's existence. So again, it's just one of those things where God says, hey, when you begin to look at those, like if you don't put all of those together, it's easy to maybe come and feel like it all happened by accident. But when you begin to put all of these things together and all their connections together, you can really only come to one conclusion, that it is done by an intelligent designer. All of that intricacy doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by accident. How cool would this be? How cool would this be if you see like 3 cars explode and all of a sudden there's a Lamborghini? that's basically what would have to happen in order for you to get this out of chaos, to get this complexity. So it really points to this idea of intelligent design. And it says this in Romans chapter 1, verse 20. It says, "For ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky. Through everything God made, they can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God." And I just want to say this, like, as incredible as creation could be, we can miss it. We can miss it. Especially living in, Torrance, Lawndale, Gardena, Hawthorne, where, some of you live. And, we live in our concrete jungle. Sometimes it's hard for us to see God because we're not as exposed to creation the way that we need to be able to recognize him and see him. So I really want to challenge you. Like, when was the last time you just walked through your neighborhood and just said, "Hey, God, I'm going to walk through my neighborhood, and I know that there are flowers and those kind of things. Help me to see the beauty of who you are just as I walk through my neighborhood." How many of you have taken the time out to do that? What about a local park? When's the last time you walked through a local park? El Dorado's a great one. Go to El Dorado Park in Long Beach. It's a great one. It has some really great trails and paths that you can walk through where you can see some pretty incredible things. And then there's hiking trails all around. Just go to Malibu. Just go to PV. There's some incredible hiking trails that are up there that you can just see some awesome, awesome things to remind. When was the last time that you did that? How about this one? When was the last time you sat down and just admired the sunset? Just admired the sunset. Just looking at all the hues and all the colors. And I mean, when you look at the sunset, you can only come to one conclusion, that God is a masterful artist. When you look at all the colors that are combined there, it's just so amazing. So when is the last time that you took an opportunity to do that? As incredible as it is right in front of our faces, we can miss it. We can miss it. It says this in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. It says, "Yet God has made everything beautiful for its own time. He has planted eternity into the human heart. But even so, people cannot see the whole scope of God's work from beginning to end." So again, here's my point is, again, you can have something beautiful right in front of you and completely miss it. Many of you are familiar with this. You've heard the story that before she was my wife, before she was my fiance, before she was my girlfriend, on Valentine's Day, Heidi sent me a rose. On Valentine's Day, and I had no idea that she was attracted to me. No idea whatsoever. Now, yeah, some of you are going, really? Like, what is wrong with you, dude? But let me tell you why. I didn't think she would be attracted to me. I didn't think I was handsome enough. I didn't think, I looked at her, and here's this woman that's incredibly smart, who's such a hard worker. I had no idea that she would be attracted to me. And then you see these blue eyes that would compete with the blue of the sky, And I would think, well, thank you. But you see that, and I would thought, why would she be attracted to me? And so when I finally figured it out, like, my mind was blown. Like, wow, she really does like me. My mind was blown. But I think that's our struggle, is sometimes we don't recognize God because our own noise gets in the way. Our own struggles, our own wrestles, our own busyness, our own hecticness, our own craziness. It gets in the way, and it hinders us from being able to see how God is revealing himself right there, right in front of us. We miss it. We miss it. And so I just really want to encourage you to begin to think about, how do I move beyond my struggles? Many of us are familiar with Paul, who wrote wrote a lot of the second half of the Bible, or second half of the New Testament. And there's a story in Acts chapter 17 where he's walking through Athens, Greece. And as he's walking through, he begins to see all of these idols and statues that they built to different gods. And he comes to this one statue, and it says, "To the unknown God." And he found out the reason why they had that statue is because they thought maybe there's a God that they're not worshiping that is out there, that exists, that maybe even be more powerful than the gods that they do worship. And Paul said, "I know who that God is. Let me tell you about who he is." So he begins to go into a dialogue about God and about his backstory and who he is. And here's what he says in Acts chapter 17, verse 27. It says, "His purpose was for the nations to seek after God and perhaps feel their way toward him and find him, though he is not far from any of us." Though he's not far from any of us. So why do this series? Why do this series? Again, I want us to do this series because there's something that you have to understand is that God is in the revelation business. There's nothing more important to God than for you to know him. And he realizes that sometimes our human minds and we're so distracted and we're so lost that what he does, he says, "Look, I am going to reveal myself to you so that you can be able to recognize me and see me." He's in that business. And what better way to be able to recognize how God reveals himself than to study the life of others and see how he has revealed himself to others. And maybe through their experience, we can learn some things about our experience and begin to look for, okay, how do I see God in a way that so-and-so saw him? How do I begin to recognize his work in my life? How do I begin to see that he's a provider? How do I begin to see that he's my peace? How do I begin to see that he's on my side? How do I begin to see that he's almighty? How do I begin to see those things? Well, one of the best ways to see it is, how did he reveal himself in the life of others? And then what we can do is we can look at our life and be able to say, okay, God, how are you revealing yourself to me? How are you revealing yourself to me? So that's one of the reasons why I was so motivated to do this series. Did you know that every day there is a person who reveals creation to us? Every day. And based upon what that person says, we will alter our plans. We will change what we wear. You know who that person is? A meteorologist. The weather woman, weather person. The meteorologist. So, and of course, we know that there are predictions, right? And there are times when the meteorologist will try to reveal creation to us. And of course, there may be times where they're right and things that they predict. But also there have been times where I carried an umbrella all day and it didn't rain once, kind of thing. Now, I want to make sure that you understand that this is different. The experience that we're going to see is different than that of a meteorologist. This is not a prediction based upon what I see possibly can happen. What we're going to do is we're going to walk through the lives of people where this actually did happen, where this is eyewitness testimony that this is how God revealed himself to me. So this is going to be like concrete for us to be able to see that this is who God is. And so I'm hoping that through this process, it'll be an opportunity for you to see him as well. Now, why is this so important? Because our understanding of God can be enhanced and enlarged through examining the experiences of others. Our understanding of God can be enhanced and enlarged through examining the experiences of others. It really can. So, with that in mind, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1, it says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off everything that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us." So it's saying, now that we've seen God through the eyes of others, let's run, let's move forward, let's go. Let's begin to move beyond the things that set us back. When we look at the life of David, who blew it horribly, and are able to see, like, wow, this is what forgiveness looks like, then that can begin to help us begin to understand that wow, if God can forgive David, then he can forgive me. Or if we look at Moses, who said, I'm not qualified, but yet God qualified him so much so that he led Israel out of Egypt and put them in a place where the foundation was beginning to be laid for them to become a great nation. Like, that's incredible. We look at Abraham, who's called the father of faith, yet what we can do is we can look through his doubt and be able to see that God still fulfills his promises. Then that helps us to endure. We look at Mary, and we see that through her obedience and saying, okay, if he's going to call me pregnant, if he's going to make me pregnant, then I'm just going to go along with it. And we see in her obedience that God is able to overcome any obstacle that you might face. That's why it's so important that we do this series, so that we can see God through the eyes of others. And hopefully, it will open up our eyes to the work of God in us, his movement in us, his power in us. So I just want to say this. God is in the business of revealing himself to us. All we have to do is what? Pay attention. Look, hear, be ready. Father, I thank you for how incredible you are. That as we examine and study just the incredible nature of your creation, we can look and we can see how grand you are when we go to the Grand Canyon, when we look at the stars, when we go to Bryce Canyon, when we go to Zion National Park, and we are able to just see how incredible you are. Or, Father, when we walk through our neighborhood and we see the ladybug, or we feel the dew on the plant in the morning as we rub our hands through the bush, or we smell the white gardenias as we're walking through our neighborhood as well. That, Father, you reveal yourself to us through your creation because you desire for us to know you. But then, not only that, Father, you've given us this tool called your word. And in your word, Lord, you have worked in the lives of others in incredible ways. And it is my prayer that as we continue on in this series, that we'll begin to see you in ways that we never imagined possible. And that we would come to a deeper understanding of your grace, of your love, of your mercy, of your fulfillment. So Lord, I thank you. I thank you for this morning. And I pray that we will constantly be aware of how you are there for us. In all things we ask in your name. Amen.
You go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. You come back with the head of my enemy. You come back and you call it my victory. Ooh. And you go before I know that you've even gone to win my war. Your love becomes my greatest defense. It leads me from the dry wilderness. And all I did was praise. All I did was worship. All I did was bow down. All I did was stay still. And hallelujah, you have saved me. I do, where my heart can seek to find your truth. Your mercy is the shade I'm living in, and you restore my faith and hope again. And all I did was praise. All I did was worship. And all I did was bow down. Oh, all I did was stay still. And hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better your way. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better your way. Hallelujah. And hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better your way. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better your way. And when I thought I lost me, you knew where I left me. You reintroduced me to your love. You picked up all my pieces and put me back together. You are the defender of my heart. And when I thought I lost me, you knew where I left me. You reintroduced me to your love. You picked up all my pieces, put me back together. You are the defender of my heart. Hallelujah. And hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better your way. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better your way. And hallelujah, you have saved me. So much better this way. And hallelujah, great defender. So much better this way. And all I did was praise. All I need to do is worship. Lord, I will just bow down. I'm just gonna stay still.
So I want to encourage you to do something this week. I want to encourage you to break out of your norm, to walk somewhere, take a trip somewhere. Doesn't have to be far, but go to a place where you have the opportunity just to reconnect with God in His creation. Maybe walk around your neighborhood and just ask God, God, help me to see you, the beauty of you in my neighborhood. Maybe go to the beach, find a good place to sit down and just kind of relax and watch the sunset. Go to a park. Go somewhere where you have the opportunity just to kind of reconnect with God and with who he is. Do that this week. Do that this week. Let me make sure I say that clearly. I apologize. But do that this week. Make a commitment. Have that experience with him. I don't know what it'll lead to. I don't know the experience that you'll have. But maybe it might be good for us just to kind of purposely say, God, I'm going to seek you in that which you've created and that which you've made. So speak to me as I take this walk. Use that this week. So like I said, next week, make sure you come as we start this. We start to dig into the different names of God. I really believe that God's going to use it to encourage you and speak to you, and maybe challenge you, uplift you. Maybe it might raise some questions, but I'm excited about this series, and I just can't wait to see where God's going to take it, and God's going to lead us in this way. If you want to, thank you for joining us this morning. If you want to support Encounter financially, there's 2 boxes here. You can just drop an offering envelope in the box as you're walking out. If you're watching on a live stream, there's a link in the description. You can click that and be able to support us financially there. But I'm really excited about this series, and I can't wait to see what God's going to do. Well, Encounter is about 3 things. Love up. Let's fall madly and passionately with the God who is madly and passionately in love with us. Love out. Let's begin to allow his love to move through us to those in our community, to those in our neighborhood, to those in our family, to those that are our co-workers. And love in. As we begin to love others and love God, we'll see that much more that we can love about ourselves and who we are. Well, take care. God bless you, and we'll see you guys next week.
I just want to invite you guys to stand for this last song. Sing Open Up the Doors. And open up the doors and let the music play. Let the streets resound with singing and songs that bring your hope and songs that bring your joy. Dancers, you dance upon injustice. Have a good Sunday, y'all.
Walk step by step, but I'm on a different pace. You won't see me on the ground, cause I'm walking on the waves. I don't ever look down, 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 I'm just focused on his face. I don't gotta know it all, that's a different type of faith. Hold up, I know you gon' show up every time. When I'm good, when I'm bad, when I'm low, when I'm high, yeah. When I'm lost, look to God, he my guide, yeah. Haters talk, let them talk, no reply, yeah. Wait, I find strength inside my weakness. Expectations, you exceed them. Do my best, you supersede it. I'm complete cause you preceded me. Ah, da, 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 yeah, you know it. Ah, da, 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 yeah, you know it. Yeah, you know it. Yeah, you know it. Ah, da, 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 yeah, you know it. I don't got it all planned out, but you know. I just watch it all pan out, cause I know that you know, covered in this life until forever. I don't got it all planned out, but you know.
forever.
I ain't worried about the future, cause I know it's in your hands. I'm the furthest thing from perfect, but I know you understand. I was limping quick to running, now I'm flying Peter Pan. And it's all because of every single step I had your hand, yeah. Every single step I had your hand. Now I got the blessings on demand. Anything you say is my command. Whole life heard no, but you told me that I can't. So I lay it all out, cause I trust you like that. And I give it all to you, cause you got it like that. Any seed that I sow, boomerang right back. Now I'm living with a joy, you can never buy that. Yeah, yeah. It ain't never easy, life can be hard. But if you trust and you believe it, you can make it with God, God, yeah.
No matter where I'm going, I know I'll make it through. Joy's coming in the morning, so I choose to wait on you. Cause you got it like that. Got it like that.
I can't think of anything I did or even do to deserve just 1 inch of your love that makes people new. And the way that you saved me out of that den when all of the lions were covering my head. You had another plan, and you gave me another chance. Oh, the way that you got me, yeah, got me like that. It's the kind of love that will let you fall, but then will bring you right back. Bring you right back, right back, right back, right back.
No matter where I'm going, I know I'll make it through. Joy's coming in the morning, so I choose to wait on you. Cause you got it like that. Got it like that. Cause you got it like that. Got it like that.
I'll take my crown now. These voices in my head, I'm telling you to bow down. You don't got control, no, so bow down. I don't give you control, no, so bow down. Yeah, yeah. I'll take my crown now. These voices in my head, I'm telling you to bow down. You don't got control, so bow down. I don't give you control, no, so bow down. Yeah, yeah. Bow down. You gotta tell it to bow down. If it don't match up with the word, then you gotta tell it to bow down. And you got it crown now, you gotta tell it to bow down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Voices in my head telling me that I won't make it, but I like a challenge. So I just keep going, trusting the Lord. The more that I know, the more that I grow, the more that I show the devil that he's on the bottom of my soul. Yeah, he's on the bottom of my soul. This is what I know. Life comes and life goes, and I'm not about to sit around and let time pass me by though. The time is now, and I ain't going nowhere. When fear comes around, I tell it bow down, down, down.
yours, oh, that you called yours. I know that they have to bow down, the spirit is stronger and I have the crown. I know I'm greater than the way you try to bring me down. I'm not trying to hear what they say, no. I'm just gonna turn it away. They can control my mind, I'm not living alone.
You gotta tell it, man, you gotta tell it to bow. If it don't match up with the word, then you gotta tell it to bow. And you got a crown and all, so you gotta tell it to bow down. All I see is blessings, got no time for stressing. Don't believe in failures in my life, it's only lessons. They just making room for what I'm on now. I don't got a clue, but I know the one who does know how. Oh wow, it's like I'm learning the game with the maker I already know now. Destiny has my name, know it's coming, it'll never go.
I know that we all gonna be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way. Our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way. I can't say that life's been perfect or complain, cause life's been worth it. And all because of who he is working, only working out for my God. And no more living in that fear, no more tears and no. Oh, he's working me and molding me, who he wants me to be. I know that we all gonna be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way. Our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way.
I can see the blessings, I can feel your presence. Leaning on the change in my heart for your endeavors. I pray I'm your reflection, I fiend for your correction. The cross brought the connection, and through Jesus is perfection. Life done hit me crazy, been more stressed than ever. Living like whatever, through the rain I feel you drawing closer. Lord, make me better, take me, shape me, use me, I am yours. Take me, break me for the glory of the Lord. Okay, not only does he hold me when I'm down and feel I'm folding, he my coach when I'm the goal. He never lonely, got that hope in he who holy, holy, holy. Keep that rugged cross all on me, need that spirit to control me. Seek that word to come and mold me, yeah. It's like I can feel the blessings coming my way, yeah. It's like I can feel the blessings coming my way.
I know that we all gonna be alright. We gon' make it through if it takes us all night. No matter what the odds may bring our way, I can see the blessings coming our way, yeah. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming our way, our way, our way. Blessings on blessings, yeah. I can see the blessings coming
The road ahead, it twists and turns, and the sun it beats down and it burns. But I keep on pushing through. And every step quicker than the last, my feet tread down this beaten path, and I keep on pushing through. 'Cause I get up and I may fall right back down, but your love lifts me back to solid ground. Yeah, I get up and I may fall right back down, but your love lifts me back to solid ground. Oh, I've come too far in this to raise my flag and call it quits. So I keep on only heaven knows. 'Cause I just need a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. 'Cause I just need a helping hand. It's gonna help me stand. It's gonna help me stand. Well, every now and then I get a feeling in my bones that I'm just wandering on my own. So I hit my knees and I'm crying out